Dollar Tree versus Sephora beauty products. One full face cost me $12, the other cost over $240. That's a 20 times price difference. But is cheap makeup secretly better? I'm telling you right now, one of these dollar products absolutely embarrassed its expensive counterpart. We're not just testing this in a studio. I took this makeup through the Nairobi heat and Dubai humidity to see what really lasts. You'll see the full breakdown, but you have to wait for point number 18 to see the shocking midday check-in. So, why does this test even matter right now? With the cost of living rising everywhere from the US to the UK, that luxury beauty haul is getting harder to justify. Beauty inflation is real, but so is the hype around affordable brands. Dollar Tree has been all over TikTok, with people claiming it's a hidden gem. On the other hand, Sephora is the gold standard, the benchmark for quality. So the big question is, can a dollar really challenge prestige? Is price just a lie? Here's how we're going to do this fairly. I did a split face test, same day, same conditions. One half of my face is Dollar Tree, the other is Sephora. Absolutely no filters, no smoothing, just my real skin texture for you to see. I filmed in natural light, from my NYC loft to a gloomy London morning. And this wasn't just a sit-down test. I wore this makeup through my daily errands, my commute, a gym session, and a grocery run. We're keeping the conditions controlled for a fair fight. Real conditions, real skin. Alright, let's start with the primer battle. The Dollar Tree silicone primer gave me that immediate, slippery smooth feel. In contrast, the Sephora Hydro Grip primer was super tacky, really gripping onto the skin. When it came to filling my pores, the difference was noticeable, but here's the real test: longevity in the heat. Let me just say, one side started to melt before noon. Think about it, what works in a chilly London drizzle is not going to survive an LA heatwave, and we saw that play out on my face. Next up, the foundation clash. Right away, shade accuracy was a problem. The cheap side just didn't have the range. I also compared full coverage versus medium coverage, and checked for any patchiness during application. The most dramatic part was the oxidation. After just 30 minutes, the cheap side turned orange, and I mean fast. It got even worse after my gym test. There's nothing worse than your foundation betraying you in public, and this was a prime example of real oxidation. Now for the concealer showdown. I looked at blendability, creasing under my eyes, and how well it covered spots. The real test was the 8-hour wear test. One concealer literally disappeared by lunchtime. It just vanished. I also did a flash photography test to check for that dreaded white cast. Imagine wearing this through a long workday in Toronto during the winter, only to find your under eyes looking a mess by your afternoon coffee. It was not a good look for one side. Let's talk powder. The main job is to mattify, right? Well, one powder did that, but it also clung to dry patches I didn't even know I had. I tested oil control in high humidity, like a day out in Singapore, and the blurring effect on my pores. And when I got the camera up close, the texture told the whole story. One of these powders made my pores look twice as big. Not the blurring effect I was hoping for. Time for the blush battle. The pigment strength of the cheap blush was surprisingly bold. I mean, it packed a punch. I compared how smoothly it blended, looking for any patchiness versus a seamless finish. We also watched for oxidation, to see if the color changed, and of course, longevity. It's one thing to look great for an hour, but you need that healthy, rosy look to last. Like that perfect winter cheeks look you see in Munich. On to the highlighter test. I was looking at glow intensity. Does it give a subtle sheen or a blinding gleam? The big difference was in the texture. One had chunky glitter, while the other had a fine, beautiful shimmer. One gave a natural finish, the other was straight up metallic. I also did a flashback test, and honestly, the luxury highlighter wasn't as bright as I expected. The truth about the glow was definitely surprising. Next, the bronzer face-off tone is everything with bronzer. I compared a warm-toned one against a cool-toned one. I did patch tests to see if it applied evenly, and checked if it looked muddy or gave a nice, sculpted effect. I even did a wind test in the dry Dubai desert air to see if it would just blow away. The final verdict came down to this. One side just looked dirty. It wasn't giving Miami outdoor brunch. It was giving mud caked. Now for the eyeshadow pigment war. The first thing I checked was fallout. Did shadow dust end up all over my cheeks? Then, I tested blendability and pure pigment strength. After a few hours, I checked for creasing in my eyelids, and any patchiness, and I have to say, the cheap eyeshadow completely shocked me. The pigment was there. The blend was decent. This was a true pigment battle. Eyeliner durability was next. I did a smudge test, checked how long it stayed on my waterline, and how sharp of a wing I could create. And then, the sweat resistance test. The Dollar Tree eyeliner smeared almost instantly. I did close-up tests to show you exactly how it broke down. It definitely wouldn't survive commuting in the London rain. Let's move on to the mascara matchup. I judged this on 3 things: length, volume, and clumping. But the most important factor was smudging throughout the day. After my gym session, the results were clear. The luxury mascara flaked off, and the cheap one smudged into raccoon eyes. Honestly, you just had to pick your poison. It was a mess on both sides. For the brow pencil showdown, I looked at the precision of the tip, how waxy the formula felt, and did a smudge test. I was most interested in longevity and how well the shade matched my natural brows. And here's a spoiler, the cheap brow pencil lasted way longer than I expected. It held up through a full day of outdoor errands in Sydney, which was impressive. Lip liner comparison time. I checked for feathering around the lip line, smoothness of application, and all-day wear. The color richness was also a key factor, but the biggest shocker was this. The luxury lip liner bled more than the cheap one. I was not expecting that at all. It was a lip line shock. And for lipstick longevity, I did the ultimate transfer test, pizza. I compared a matte finish to a satin one, checked for patchiness, and noted any drying effects on my lips. But the headline is, the cheap lipsticks survived the NYC pizza slice test. It was still there, looking pretty good, after a greasy, delicious meal. Finally, the setting spray challenge. I compared a dewy finish spray to a matte one. I tested longevity, stickiness, and did a splash water test to see if everything would hold. And this is where it gets crazy. The luxury setting spray actually ruined half of my makeup. It caused everything to separate and look awful. A complete spray disaster. Okay, it's time for the midday check-in. This is point number 18. The moment I told you to wait for, and this is where everything changed. Looking at my face, one side was clearly melting faster than the other. The oily zones were breaking through, creases were forming under my eyes, and the blush on one side had almost completely faded. But the most unexpected winner was starting to emerge in a category I never would have guessed. You'll need to watch till the end to see which products were the surprising standouts. Now for the real-world lifestyle tests. I subjected my face to extreme conditions. The heat and humidity test took me from the Nairobi afternoon sun to the thick air of Dubai, and then to the drizzly streets of London. The cheap makeup started to melt almost immediately in the heat. It just couldn't handle it. The weather truth is, you need different products for different climates. Then came the night out test. I went out dancing to simulate the heat and sweat of a club. I took flash photos to check for flashback. I tracked the longevity of the whole look, especially my oily T-zone and lipstick. Let's just say, only one side of my face survived a night out in a Berlin-style nightclub. And the touch test. This is a big one. I checked for transfer onto my clothes, my phone screen after a call, and even did a hug test. The cheap side stained everything it came into contact with. The transfer was out of control. It just couldn't hold up to real-life contact. So let's get into the final round, starting with the price breakdown. The total for my Dollar Tree face was $12. The Sephora face was over $240. But when you look at the value per wear or costs per hour, the numbers get interesting. The big takeaway here is that price doesn't always equal performance. Sometimes you're paying for the brand, not necessarily a better result. What about skin health? I compared the ingredients lists and, to be honest, the cheap side did cause some minor irritation on my sensitive skin. I looked at the breakout risk and whether the ingredients were comedogenic, meaning likely to clog pores. For anyone with sensitive skin, especially in a harsh winter, the ingredients in the luxury products might be worth the extra cost. So, who is the real lifewear winner? For foundation, Sephora won for its shade range and longevity. For eyes, it was a closer call, but Sephora's liner and mascara performed better overall. For lips, however, Dollar Tree was the unexpected champion, especially for longevity. Overall, the luxury side won, but not by as much as you'd think. The results were truly shocking. And now, for the most unexpected surprises. There were a few cheap products that completely outperformed their luxury rivals. The Dollar Tree powder, for example, had a better blurring effect and mattified my skin without looking cakey, completely embarrassing the expensive side. I also debunked a few viral TikTok myths about certain products that just didn't live up to the hype. So, who should buy what? For budget-conscious students or anyone just starting out, some Dollar Tree picks are incredible. They're low-risk and easy to use. Beginners don't need a full luxury kit to learn. Save your money first. For professionals or anyone with mature skin over 40, investing in high-performance products from Sephora often makes sense. The formulas tend to be better for longevity and fine lines. And my final conclusion: cheap makeup can absolutely work, but not for every single product category. Luxury products generally last longer and offer better shade ranges and formulas for specific skin concerns. But there were shocking wins on both sides. The most important thing I learned is that your wallet doesn't decide your glow. It's all about finding what works for you. So, which side surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And would you want to see a part 2 where I test Dollar Tree versus Sephora skincare? If so, comment part 2 feet below. My next video is going to be that skincare battle, and you do not want to miss the Dollar Tree serum test. Make sure you subscribe for the glow. Thanks for watching.